All right, welcome back. Lesson 94, graphing pairs of inequalities. We deal with inequalities that are connected by the word and the word or. Two different ways of graphing two inequalities on one number line. So if we have something, let's take the condition and. We can talk about x being greater than minus 1 and x being less than 3. This is describing a condition. And the word and you need to associate with the idea of we're talking about between. In other words, we're talking about everything between minus 1 and 3. And to graph that, we would look at our number line with our numbers minus 1 and 3 set up on the number line. And we would graph these and watch what happens. X is greater than minus 1. Well, it's greater, so that's an open circle. And it's pointing in that direction, so I'm going to shade this way. And means that we also are interested in only things that are more than minus 1, and they also have to be less than 3. So if I look at x is less than 3, open circle, less than, and going in this direction here, and I see that all we're talking about is everything that is between minus 1 and 3. All right? This is the idea of the word and. All right? The word or, on the other hand, we would say something like x is less than minus 1 or x is greater than 3. And now either one of these conditions work. Both of them don't have to be into play. So if we graph that, we see that we've got 0, minus 1, 3. All right. Now we look at each one and put it on the same graph. We see x is less than minus 1, open circle, shaded in that direction, or x is greater than 3, open circle, now going in that direction. And our graph looks very different than the and graph. Here we go in two separate directions. That says something like minus 10 works because it's less than minus 1, or 10 works because it's more than 3. This is the idea between and or. Now we can write this, an and, we can write this as a conjunction. In other words, we can say x is greater than minus 1 and x is less than 3. Once again, we're saying we're interested in everything that's between minus 1 and 3. We can turn that around and write this as minus 1, and it's pointing to the minus 1, so I can flip it, but the sign is still pointing to the minus 1, and x is less than 3. And you have this arrangement of only one variable but two conditions. All right? Notice that this x is less than 3 is still x is less than 3 right here. X is greater than minus 1. We have flipped that around. And when you see something like this, where you have the lesser amount on the left and the greater amount on the right, and the two inequality symbols both point in that same direction, we are talking about between, and you can remember that by writing the word between with two less than signs. And the graph of something like that will always be a shaded thing between. So, for example, if I've got minus 6 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 10. That's a conjunction, and you may be asked to graph it. All right, fine. You can do this two ways, all right? But whatever way you do it, you're always going to start with a number line, arrows at the end, 0, a minus 6, and a 10, all right? Now, one way you can do that is to break this into two inequalities. You can say minus 6 is less than or equal to x, and is less than 10. We break that into two. This one's a little awkward for us because we're usually used to the variable being on the left-hand side. So I can flip that around and say x, and all I have to do is remember that it's pointing to the -6, so I keep it pointing to the -6 and write it like that. All right? So now I take a look at this and I go, okay, x is greater than or equal to -6. Greater than or equal to is a solid circle, pointing in that direction, going this way. And here 10, x is less than 10, that's open circle, but going in this way. And the place where they meet, because it's and, is what we're interested in. And we can check our work by picking anything inside those shaded areas, like 0, it should work, but -6 is less than 0, true, and 0 is less than 10. We did it correctly, all right? The other way is just to recognize that a conjunction written like this always means between. So what we're interested in is everything between -6 and 10, and we can just say 0, -6, 10, and pay attention to open or closed circle, all right? The -6 gets the closed circle. This is just less than 10, that gets an open circle. And so in between gets shaded in, and you're done. Now on the other hand, we can talk about graphing an or type situation. And here you don't necessarily see conjunctions as much. You'll see it written as something like x is less than or equal to 5, and x or x is greater than or equal to 12. All right? So once again, all you're going to do is graph these things on the same number line, 5 and 12. All right, starting off. And we do x is less than or equal to 5, since it's less than or equal to. It's a closed circle. And we're going to shade in this direction with a big arrow there to show it goes on forever. And or we're going to add to this number line going this way, equal to, so once again, closed circle, except now we're going this way. And we see that something like this wouldn't work. Like we pick a number here, like 8, and ask ourselves, okay, 8 is less than or equal to 5. No, that doesn't work. How about 8 is greater than or equal to 12? No, that doesn't work. But it's not shaded, so it doesn't work, and that proves that we did it the correct way. All right? Yeah, you'll see incredibly difficult things like graph this pair of inequalities. T is less than 0 or t is greater than or equal to 6. All right, big deal. We just have one number line, 0, 6. T is less than 0, open circle on the 0, shaded this way. Or t is greater than or equal to 6, closed circle on the 6, and shaded in the other direction. And the pattern definitely shows that when you've got an or, you're going to have a gap there between the two. When it's an and, you're looking at what is in between the two. And other than that, that about does it. And to give you some practice on this then, the idea of lesson 94 would be, let me just get that right here. All right. Lesson 94 is A to E and there we go, okay. Lesson 94. A to D and 10 to 14. All right, so have some fun with graphing pairs of inequalities. See ya.